So Wargaming released a teaser. They're like, ooh, the next reward tank. What's it gonna be? This is what it looks like. Here you go. Here's the silhouette. Can you guess what it is? And I was like, ooh, yes, here we go. Let's make a video on this and let's try to figure it out. And looking at it right away, it looked to me like we're looking at the back end of a tank. Perhaps there's a tread here and it goes like this. Let me just get a little thingamabob here and show you what I'm talking about. It looks like maybe the tread goes like this. And then the other tread is here. Goes around the tank like that. So that was my first initial guess. But then as I looked at it more, I figured, you know what? I don't think it would be facing away from us. So perhaps it's like this. And this is the other tread. Maybe. And so I started doing some looking around. And I found a tank which has an almost perfect match to this back end. And it has this little part right here that comes out. In and out. And I'm like, oh boy, that kind of looks like a Tiger P. So, my assumption was a new reskinned Ferdinand. And if we tilt this just like this, you'll notice the back end fits almost perfectly. Looks like they added a side skirt right here. You see? Now this picture's not perfect, but you see what I'm talking about right here? Maybe closer to the front, they cut out the gun maybe, or perhaps the gun is pointed this way. But it looks kind of like a Ferdinand. But what is this on top? Some kind of machine gun. Huh. And so that's when I thought to myself, maybe it's something else. Something new. So I did some more digging around, and that's when I found this thing. The KV4 KTTS. And once again, the back fits really, really well. Not perfectly. But as you can see, maybe if the picture was a little bit better. Look at this. It's got a machine gun. If it's facing that way. The back almost matches. Just has some more detail on the back. Remember, this is Mercenaries. They can do whatever they want. They might have added bags on the front, you know. But look at... if we match the front, it almost fits, perhaps. So I thought maybe it's this thing. Well, guys, I was completely wrong. It is a Hellcat with a 105mm derp. What? What? Can we just compare these real quick? Okay, I've got to see this. So this is apparently the tank. Apparently. And yet, I do not see it. Granted, they may have cut out the gun. Get all this. Done. Okay. Good enough. Copy. Let's see this. Shrink it down. Like, no. Oof. Excuse me? Do you guys see this? I guess that kind of matches. But what's all this? Oh, I see now. Wow, okay, it does fit. So what they did was, here's the machine gun. Here's the gun. They cut this part out too, so you wouldn't see the gun. And they made it look like a Ferdinand almost. Wow, that's really weird. But that does fit. So, well. Alright. Well, it's a Hellcat with a 105. So let's talk a little bit about it. Now, if this thing has the 105 derp, is it going to be the same one as the M10 Wolverine, which is here, 410 Alpha, on its HE shells and on its heat shells? It has 350 with 102 pen. If so, I would imagine that this tank is going to be a tier 5. But you have to realize that there's another tank in this game known as the Tank, T-A-N-K, which has a 122mm derp gun. However, when we look at the normal 122mm derp gun, it has 61mm of penetration and 450 alpha. But on the Tank Light Tank, it has 74mm of penetration and 660 alpha. So it did get buffed and moved up a couple tiers. And it also has heat pen, which also has barely more penetration, just barely, but it does once again have more alpha. Okay. So taking all the information I have gathered, doing some math and trying to figure this out, because I don't think they're going to be giving us a tier 5 premium. I'm going to imagine this is going to be a tier 7. Now if it's tier 7, these are the specs I think it's going to have. I think it's going to have a DPM of 2,800. Now that sounds a lot, but you have to remember you're shooting HG, so that's only if you penetrate. If you're not penetrating, you're doing less than half of that damage per minute, so don't worry about that. It's going to have a base reload time of 12.85 seconds and a rate of fire of 4.67 rounds per minute. Alright, its caliber is going to be 105, of course, 30 rounds in the tank, and it's going to have 64 millimeters of HE pen with 600 alpha, meaning you'll be splashing for about 200 to 300, which is pretty good. Your heat is going to have 122 millimeters of penetration with 480 alpha, so that's going to be really, really good on semi-armored tanks and the sides and rear of tanks. That's going to be really good. And then your super HE is going to bump its penetration from 64 up to 75, and your damage is going to be 600. And I'm going to imagine that this is going to be a tier 7. It's going to have, I didn't do the hit points, but I'm going to imagine it's going to have 850 hit points, something like that. All of this is going to be the same. It's whatever. Same top speed, maybe a different power weight, but we don't care about that. All we care about is the gun. And so this is the calculations I've done. If they're going to buff the gun of this 105 and make it a tier 7, then this is what I imagine it will have. Now, it might be a tier 5. And if it's a tier 5, then it's going to have the gun the Wolverine has. Alright, with the, 51 millimeters of HE pen. 52 millimeters of HE pen with 410 alpha. That will be tier 5. If that's tier 6, then I'm going to cry, because you can just go play a Wolverine a tier lower with the same gun. In fact, you could play a T40, 2 tiers lower with the same gun. But we'll see. So this is just my initial take on this and what I think they're going to do with this. I think that this thing is going to be a tier 7 with this derp gun. I think that's what it's going to do. Now, once again, like I said, this is just speculation. All these numbers are just random. This is just a theory, and I'm probably going to be completely wrong, but it was fun to do. Well, guys, I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, slap that like button. Let me know what you guys think this is going to be. If it's going to be tier 7, it's going to be tier 6 with a 105. Maybe it's going to be tier 5. I don't know, but I'm hoping it's going to be a tier 7 with stats near, at least somewhat near, what I calculated. Well, I hope you guys all enjoyed. If you did, slap that like button, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you go check out Speculating and GotADingy YouTube's links in the description below. And I will see you guys all later. Take care, and peace out.